Okay, so you've got your springboard open to Wiesel's speech that we read yesterday, and your question asked you to do a quick summary of what the heck that speech was about. What was the message that Wiesel really wanted to get out to anybody, to everyone, not just the audience that was listening to him? What was the message Wiesel was trying to tell us? All right.
You always follow something.
Okay, you can always help someone. You can always do something for somebody. Anything else? That's about it. Do your part. We're all in this together. We all have to help each other out. So after we read Wiesel's speech, you folks saw this 14-minute video clip of that high school student, and her speech was titled Downplaying the Holocaust. And she brought up how the editor-in-chief of the New York Times during the late 30s, early 40s, he essentially hid articles about the Holocaust in the folds of the paper. So the United States, our nation, was kind of hidden from the news. We didn't know what was really going on 100% because most people were only looking at front page news. They didn't tuck away to find out what else was happening. So it was like we were being withheld information. So we talked about how it can be dangerous to not know information. How if you keep it away, well, we're kind of blind to what's going on. And that's what happened to America during that time. So what we're going to do is expand on Wiesel's speech today. We're going to expand on this idea of the danger of withholding information. So I did have you folks keep your springboard at page 209, and I want you to go ahead and get your raw notebook set up. This is going to be our 14th entry. So we're going to write the day's date. It's March 2nd. And the activity name is Never Forget Prompt. The setup for this entry is really quick. It's not going to be hard to do at all. We're not doing any charts or anything like that. You're only going to need one page or one side of the page for this entry, but I do want you to divide it in half, so draw yourself a line halfway through, just like you see on the screen. And each half is going to have a different heading. So at the very top, we're going to title it Speech. No, you're not going to be reading it aloud. That's just the heading. And below the line, we're going to write down discussion questions. And then the numbers 1 through 4, and give yourself some space between each one. Now we're only going to be focusing in on the top half of the entry today. We'll look at the bottom half tomorrow. So the top half is relatively easy. It's not meant to be tricky or difficult. So it says we're supposed to do some kind of speech. Again, it's not something you're reading aloud. I don't think that's what's going on. What you're going to be doing is responding to the prompt that's written all the way at the top of the screen. And what I did was I highlighted green for the text that you needed to understand. Convinced? A school board. The Holocaust is an important subject to study. That's simple. Now, but you have to include our 4 items, and I've got them outlined for you. You have to include, number 1, a very clear claim. Your argument why the Holocaust should remain as a study focus. The second item you've got to include is a counterclaim, and you need to prove it wrong. Okay, the counterclaim would be what a school board might say. Why might they say no? What could be their rationale? And again, you have to prove it wrong. Third item you need to make sure to have is supporting your claim with evidence. So the items that we've read in class, the articles, your story, real witnesses. And last, you need to have a clear call to action. I'll move that box in a moment. But the clear call to action is, what do you want done? What are you asking the school board to do? Don't worry about how many sentences. Don't worry about length. Most of you are probably going to have a paragraph. You just have to make sure that you've included those 4 items that are outlined in order to address that prompt. I'm going to give you guys about 8 minutes to work through the prompt. If you realize that that half page isn't enough, you can always just write on a second page if you need more room. All right, you folks have 8 minutes. Go ahead. So the next step of what we're going to tackle, it's an easy one. It's not meant to be hard. You folks are going to develop campaign posters, just like what you've seen. So watch the screen, that way you know what are the requirements, what kind of grade are you going to be receiving, how is it going to work. So the 2 images up front, you've seen them before. That's what you looked at on Monday. These were the Plant a Billion Trees and Don't Text and Drive campaigns. So something to notice with each of them, there's a slogan, there's some kind of image, okay? So this is what you folks have to incorporate. You're going to be taking Wiesel's call to action, what he wanted audiences to do, and turning that into your campaign. So his call to action, you're going to make it a slogan. His call to action, you're going to make it an image. So if you take a look at the right-hand side, it tells you how the poster needs to be laid out. It says the image needs to take up a majority of the poster, and that the slogan needs to be written in a large font. Lastly, minimum white space. That means that you've plotted this thing, planned it appropriately, so it's not like you have something small in the center and it's surrounded by this big white paper. Okay? So decorating your background or making the image so large that you don't have a background. So coloring items, I've got markers and colored pencils on the stack table. They are yours to use. Last thing, in terms of a grade, you and your group will collectively earn the same grade, up to 30 points. So you either received 1 poster because the people seated at your table is enough to make 1, or you received 2, meaning I need you to split up into 2 separate groups. The rest of the time is yours.